More than a year after their shocking affair resulted in their termination from GMA, TJ Holmes and Amy Robach spend Christmas alone and with their children while talking about marriage on their podcast. This year, TJ Holmes and Amy Robach, the former hosts of GMA3, spent Christmas separately and with their respective children from past relationships. They chose to spend the vacation apart from their children, despite the fact that they discuss getting married on their podcast. After parting ways, the two former hosts shared Christmas photos of themselves with their children and continued to joke around. While Holmes was celebrating with his 10-year-old daughter, Robach was with her adolescent daughters. Robach was sure to use her social media accounts to express her gratitude to her boyfriend for giving her a lighthearted gift, a trivia quiz about the now famous Will Ferrell Christmas comedy, Elf. Since their affair was made public more than a year ago and resulted in their TV exit, the two lovers have been romantically involved. Now, their ex-partners are starting to go out on dates. Robach, 50, spent the trip with her two teenage daughters from her previous marriage to Tim McIntosh, 19-year-old Ava and 16-year-old Annalise. Robach posted a picture of her family's steak dinner on Christmas Eve to Instagram, along with some funny moments she had in the kitchen with her girls and a big tray of homemade mac and cheese. The physically muscular mother of two was stepmother to actor Andrew Shue's three sons from a previous marriage until their divorce last year. Holmes, 46, celebrated the occasion with Sabine, his 10-year-old daughter, whom he shares with his ex-wife Marilee Fiebig. Together, the two of them watched horror films on Christmas Eve, including the beloved action flick Die Hard. The charming presenter tracked his young daughter's increasing interest in her gifts as the days leading up to Christmas morning passed. He described it as that time of night when kids start counting and shaking their gifts in an Instagram story. With his first wife, Amy Ferson, Holmes is also parents to two additional daughters, Brianna and Jaden. Following DailyMail.com's disclosure of their connection, Robach and Holmes both formally separated from their husbands. The hosts both claimed that when their connection became public, they were already in the midst of divorce procedures. Holmes stated, "To be clear, we were outed as being in a relationship, but everyone else thought we were being outed as adulterers, being outed as cheating on our spouses, and it wasn't the case on the couple's freshly launched podcast, Amy and TJ. At that time, we were both going through a divorce. They each had attorneys and mediators were in the middle of divorces," Robach continued. Following the unexpected partnership's announcement, the two were taken off the air in December 2022, and in January 2023, they formally departed from their positions at ABC. But for Holmes and Robach, who just started their podcast and even more recently revealed their impending marriage to their listeners, things seem to be going well despite the shocking breakup. During a podcast episode in late December, Holmes expressed his desire to wed Robach to the audience. The 50-year-old Robach stated that a wedding was under consideration, and that he and his partner got into the relationship because we intended to spend our lives together. She went on, though, saying, "We're not racing to or rushing towards it. We both have 2 marriages under our belts." A tiny box that might be waiting beneath the Christmas tree this year prompted Holmes, 46, to respond with a jest, adding, "I want to marry you, in part because you're 50 and I'm 46. Additionally, I'm tired of introducing my girlfriend as a 50-year-old. The former co-workers were questioned about their romantic lives by callers during the episode's Q&A session. To Holmes's quip that calling a 50-year-old lady his girlfriend sounded stupid, Robach jokingly responded, "How's this for Instagram official? #SilentNoMore." The pair wrote in a joint Instagram photo they shared last month, announcing their podcast. Exactly 1 year after Holmes and Robach were let go from Good Morning America, the first episode aired on December 5. Following reports of their romance, the broadcast journalists were temporarily removed from the show in the previous year. On January 27, they were formally fired after an internal probe. The couple's infatuation was initially made public by DailyMail.com, which published pictures of them cuddling up on an upstate New York getaway. Hours after pre-recording their daily segment, the two were sighted in O'Donoghue's bar in Times Square on November 10, 2022, one day before the now famous weekend vacation. They were completely smitten with each other, a witness told the gossip publication. They were staring at one another's phones and she was laughing at anything he was saying. She laughed so hard she nearly fell into his lap at one point, sort of dancing to the music in her chair. After filming in the morning, Holmes was spotted the next day leaving his apartment with a duffel and a rucksack and making his way to a restaurant in the West Village that was close to Robach's residence. Shortly after, he turned the corner and went up the block to Robach's BMW convertible, which was waiting for him to be picked up. After 2 hours of driving north of the city, the two arrived at the Shawangunk Mountains and booked into a cottage tucked away in the woods. On November 13, as they were leaving, Robach bent down to pack the car, and Holmes was observed grasping her behind. In a further turn of events, it was disclosed that the couple's rejected ex-partners had been dating for around 6 months. On December 5, the day the first podcast episode was released. Following the sensational romance of their ex-partners, insiders confirmed that Phoebe and Shu grew close, leading to the revelation of their connection over a year later. Before leaving for the weekend on Friday, the two were pictured climbing into his green Jeep Wrangler. It is said that the pair grew close by witnessing their marriages fall apart in such a public way.